When you hear the name Joe Frazier, you think of Smokin Joe, the relentless pressure fighter. The man who gave us the Thrilla in Manila, one of the greatest fights in boxing history. But what if I told you the story you know is only half the truth? What if I told you the real story of Joe Frazier is one of unimaginable hardship, of a man who was the real-life Rocky Balboa, yet was denied his rightful place in history? This is the untold story of Joe Frazier, a story of a man who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, both in and out of the ring. Billy Joe Frazier was born in 1944 in Beaufort, South Carolina, the youngest of 13 children. His family lived in a level of poverty that is hard to imagine today. The land they farmed was so undesirable that white landowners had simply left it to the African American residents. Out of Joe's 12 siblings, 3 died in childhood. The infant mortality rate was a staggering 20%. Just surviving to adulthood was a miracle. By the age of 6, little Billy Joe was working 12-hour days in the fields for $1 a day. By 7, he was driving a pickup truck and fixing farm equipment. This brutal child labor took a toll. An injury to his arm meant he could never fully extend it, a devastating limitation for a future boxer. He couldn't throw a proper jab. His reach was a mere 71 inches, a full foot shorter than his future rivals, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. Frazier moved to Philadelphia, married his wife Florence, and started a family. To support them, he worked in a slaughterhouse, a grueling job he would hold for years. It was during this time that he walked into a boxing gym, not with dreams of championships, but because, in his own words, "I was so fat I couldn't get my pants on." His first trainer, Yank Durham, saw him as just another overweight kid who would quit in a few days, but Frazier had a fire in him. After a full day's work, he would train late into the night. He was short, squat, and couldn't jab, but he had a secret weapon, a left hook that could knock down walls, and hands with the speed of a welterweight. He failed every eye test, but he had a ferocious tunnel vision determination that was simply unmatched. The story of Rocky Balboa, the ultimate underdog, is a story that has inspired millions. But the real Rocky was Joe Frazier. From the mean streets of Philly, to the slaughterhouse, to the relentless fighting style, the fictional character was a mirror image of Frazier's life. Yet when the city of Philadelphia decided to erect a statue to honor its fighting spirit, they didn't choose the real-life champion who trained on the museum steps. They chose the fictional one. A bitter irony that followed Frazier for the rest of his life. The rivalry between Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali is legendary, but the story goes deeper than just 3 epic fights. Ali, in his quest for a psychological edge, was relentlessly cruel to Frazier. He called him an Uncle Tom, ignorant, and most famously, a gorilla. Before the Thrilla in Manila, Ali held up a gorilla toy and said, "I got your conscience." These weren't just trash talk, they were deeply personal and racially charged insults that were not acceptable then and are not acceptable now. The verbal abuse pushed Frazier to a place of unimaginable rage. He went into the Thrilla in Manila willing to die to beat Ali, and he almost did. For 14 brutal rounds in 120-degree heat, the 2 men went to war. Frazier took an inhuman amount of punishment. His eyes swollen shut, but he refused to go down. It was his trainer, Eddie Futch, who stopped the fight, saying that his fighter was literally willing to die in that ring. After boxing, Frazier's life was a complex tapestry of highs and lows. He fathered 11 children with 6 different women, a fact that led to complicated family dynamics. He trained young fighters in his Philadelphia gym, but financial struggles were a constant battle. In his final days, the man who had earned millions of dollars was living in a small room in the back of his gym, with barely enough money to get by. In 2011, at the age of 67, Smokin Joe Frazier died of liver cancer. He left behind a legacy of incredible resilience, a man who overcame every obstacle life threw at him. He was a true champion, a loving father, and a man who, despite the immense weight he carried, never stopped fighting. So the next time you hear the name Joe Frazier, remember the untold story? Remember the